Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Great to have you with us. Today we're looking at some really positive news, actually. A big award recognizing some serious climate leadership. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're drawing from excerpts of a judge's report. It's from the Kvikoo Impact Honors, specifically the report titled Temasek Holdings, Sovereign Climate Steward 2025.
EQ, that's quick, cool, right?
That's the one. And our sort of mission today is to figure out why. Why did Temasek Holdings get named Sovereign Climate Steward 2025? It was in the Net Zero Progress Matters category. And this award, well, it says a lot about climate action in the investment space.
Right. Kvikoo Impact Honors, they're about recognizing organizations that, really walk the talk. Integrity, transparency, long-term impact. So this isn't just some standard industry award. It signifies something deeper.
Exactly. It highlights genuine effort and measurable results.
Okay, so let's get into it. Temasek's commitments. The report mentions these really bold targets. We're talking net zero by 2050. And maybe even more significantly, a 30% emissions cut by 2030. That's pretty soon.
It is ambitious, especially when you think about Temasek being a state-owned investor. They call them a system-level actor in the report.
The system-level actor.
Oh.
What does that really mean in practice? And what kind of signal does a commitment like that send?
Well, it sets a very high bar. For an organization of Temasek's size and influence, these targets aren't just aspirational. They require real systemic change across their investments. That 2030 target in particular, 30% reduction, it shows they're serious about near-term action, not just distant goals.
So it's like throwing down a gauntlet to other big players, other sovereign funds.
In a way, yes. It demonstrates what's possible, maybe even what's necessary, when climate is put right at the heart of investment strategy. It pushes the boundaries.
Okay, but targets are one thing, action is another. How are they actually doing this? What strategies, what tools does the report highlight?
Right. That's the critical part. And what's fascinating here is what they call the whole of portfolio approach.
Whole of portfolio.
Yeah. It means they're not just looking at their own direct emissions scope 1 and 2. They're tackling scope 3.
Scope 3, the big one. The supply chain emissions, the emissions of the companies they invest in.
Exactly. All the indirect stuff. It's much harder to track. But it's where a huge chunk of the impact lies for an investor. And they're using tools like proprietary internal carbon pricing, tracking the carbon intensity of their portfolio. It's quite systematic.
So they built their own tools to measure this.
Seems so. And they're not just tracking, they're actively investing in solutions. The report mentions leadership in nature-based solutions, plus investments in key transition technologies, things like carbon capture, clean hydrogen, sustainable aviation fuel.
So they're putting their money into scaling up the green tech we need.
Precisely. It helps de-risk these areas, makes them more viable. And they've even set up a dedicated platform for this called GenZero.
GenZero, okay. So that's their climate-focused investment arm.
Essentially, yes. It signals a serious, dedicated pool of capital and expertise focused purely on climate solutions.
This all sounds very internal, how they manage their money. But how does it translate outwards to the companies they actually own stakes in?
That's where the transparent engagement piece comes in. It's crucial.
Engagement. You mean talking to their portfolio companies?
Yes, but it's more than just talk. The report suggests they're actively pushing these companies for better climate governance. They want to see robust transition plans, measurable progress. It involves deep dialogue, understanding different industries. It's complex work.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a real challenge, getting all these different companies, different sectors aligned with these big climate goals.
Definitely a challenge. Requires persistence and a clear, consistent message.
Okay, so they have the targets, the tools, the engagement strategy. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for me. How does this all stack up against global standards? How do we know it's credible?
Good question. And transparency seems key here. The report is clear on their alignment with major global frameworks.
Like which ones?
Well, full alignment with the TCFD, that's the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures.
Right, TCFD is becoming pretty standard now for climate risk reporting.
It is. And also the IFRS S2 standards, which are building on TCFD to create a global baseline for sustainability reporting. If we connect this to the bigger picture, alignment with these frameworks means their disclosures are more standardized, comparable, and ideally more reliable for, everyone watching.
So it adds a layer of accountability.
Absolutely. And then there's the Future Fit Business Benchmark, the FFBB. The report calls Temasek an investor influence leader within that framework.
FFBB. I'm less familiar with that one. What's the core idea there?
It's quite interesting. FFBB uses what they call break-even goals, basically, doing no harm, minimizing negative impacts, think emissions, waste, water use. But it combines that with positive pursuits, which is about actively creating positive value, contributing to solutions, regenerating ecosystems, things like that.
So it's not just less bad, it's aiming for actively good.
Exactly, that's the idea. Moving beyond just mitigation to actually contributing positively. Temasek seems to be embracing that dual approach.
And any other major alignments mentioned?
Yes, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. The report links Temasek's work specifically to SDG 13, which is climate action,
Makes sense.
SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, SDG 15, life on land that connects to the nature-based solutions work, and SDG 17, partnerships for the goals.
Okay, quite a few. And how do these frameworks specifically guide their actions? Does the report give examples?
It does, especially with the FFBB. For break-even goals, it mentions things like BEO5 for operational emissions, BEUS6 for operational GHGs more broadly, also BE12, which is about procurement influence via their portfolio governance, BE22 using their influence ethically, and BE23 ensuring transparency and disclosures.
So very concrete areas.
And on the positive pursuit side, it points to restoring the environment linking back to GenZero and nature-based investing, advancing systemic change, which ties into their role as a sovereign investor, and creating shared prosperity, like supporting a just transition.
Wow. Okay. That's quite comprehensive. It really shows a deep integration, doesn't it? It's not just surface level stuff.
It certainly appears that way from the report. These frameworks provide a structure for accountability. They matter because they show how Temasek is trying to achieve its goals, not just what the goals are.
Right. It paints a much clearer picture. So bringing it back to the award itself, it sounds like the judges were, well, pretty impressed. Let me read their closing comment directly because I think it sums it up powerfully.
Please do.
Okay, quote, Temasek demonstrates what sovereign climate leadership looks like in action. With ambitious goals, credible portfolio tools, and a commitment to system-level change, Temasek is shaping the future of responsible investing. For its integrity, vision, and investment impact, we award Temasek the title of Sovereign Climate Steward 2025 in the category Net Zero Progress Matters. End quote.
Sovereign climate leadership in action. That phrase really jumps out, doesn't it?
It does. It emphasizes the doing, not just the saying.
Exactly. And they highlight the credible portfolio tools and the commitment to system-level change. It suggests the judges saw substance behind the ambition.
So what does this all mean? Thinking beyond just Temasek.
Well, this raises an important question, I think. What signal does this send to other large state-owned investors around the world? Could this Kvikoo recognition, the spotlight on Temasek, actually inspire a wider shift, a move towards this kind of high accountability approach to decarbonization across different countries, different sectors?
That's definitely something for you, our listener, to think about, a potential ripple effect. We hope this deep dive into the Kvikoo report gave you a good sense of why Temasek received this honor and what that signifies for climate-focused investing.
Yeah, looking at these kinds of detailed awards and reports, it really helps understand what genuine progress looks like on the ground. It goes beyond just the headlines.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this exploration. As always, this deep dive was put together for you, drawing from the sources you find interesting. We really appreciate you tuning in.